All righty. A little late, but that's okay. Send out my hoot. Send out my stuff. All righty. I am Zachary Mealis here with the voice of college football. This is Missouri Tigers Live. Brought to you here as we prepare. Wow, this is episode 45. As we are here to talk about the Missouri Tigers. We have a big game. If you hadn't heard, apologies, folks, I just got off work. We have a big game if you hadn't heard for the old Mizzou Tigers. They head to Vanderbilt to take on the Vanderbilt Commodores in a top 15 matchup. A matchup where the team who wins is going to have the inside track to the college football playoff. The loser, well, their season's not over, but they have to win out. And I don't know about you guys, but if you don't win this game, I don't trust either of these. Vanderbilt still has to go to Texas. Vanderbilt still has to go to Tennessee. Mizzou still has to go to Oklahoma, and they still got to play Texas A&M. So, what an opportunity awaits us. College game day will be in town. But first, let's take one last look back at a 23-27 overtime win on the road. I guess at Auburn. Coming off of so what's interesting about this game and interesting about and what I give Mizzou a lot of props for is that's a game a lot of teams lose. You're coming off an emotional loss in a big spot against Alabama at home, a game you put a lot into. That team did. I know they lost. It was super disappointing. I was disappointed, frustrated, tired. The works. But you came out of that game. You go into a hostile environment on the road at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Look, we talked about it Saturday night. I like to make fun of Jordan-Hare because everyone likes to talk about how impossible it is to win at Jordan-Hare Stadium, even though, like, since Hugh Freeze has gotten there, everybody seems to win at Jordan-Hare. So I just find it funny. But including teams like Cal and New Mexico State, Sam Pittman, Arkansas, I gave the list Saturday. So to go in there, not play a very good football game, and win, that's huge. We're still used to. That's a game where if you lose it, your season's over. Like, look, yeah, no, they could have still won out, but like the likelihood of Mizzou winning out, not very high if they had lost to Auburn. And with how this playoff structure looks right now, I'm still not sure. 10-2. I'm not sure 10-2 gets them in because there's a lot of things that we have to talk about, and we will when it comes to the college football playoff. I think we've hit a point in the year where I think we can start talking about who Mizzou fans should root for and who they should want to win football games. That doesn't happen if you don't go in there and win a game at night at Jordan-Hare. It's a great win. It's a very good win for this program. It's a win. This program just does not get a lot. And it's special seasons. Like, look, the 2023 season, yes, they went 10-2, but who were their road? They beat Georgia on the road, obviously. Or they lost to Georgia. Apologies. They lost to Georgia on the road. They played Georgia on the road. Excuse me. But their other road games at Vanderbilt in 2023, not that scary. At Kentucky, and at Arkansas, a team that had quit. Not great. 2022, they won at South Carolina. South Carolina that year certainly wasn't bad. So it's a big win for this program to go in there and get the win. And I'll reiterate, I believe Bo was the highest rated player on PFF. I thought Pribula played really well. Not really well. I take that back. That's still pushing it too far. I thought Bo played pretty well. He finishes 23 of 40 for 252 and 2 interceptions. Again, I'll reiterate, the 2 interceptions, yes, it looks bad on a stat sheet that he has 2 interceptions. One of them, he's throwing an out route under pressure to Josh Manning. The corner for Auburn makes a hell of a play. You can't, good on him. It was just a desperation thing. And the other pick was he took a bad sack. The sack I'm way more upset about in that situation than the interception. The interception kind of is what it is. The sack was the awful play in that turn of events. But the interception, you had Speedy on a one-on-one on the outside. You needed like 20 yards. See if he makes a catch. See if you can get PI. Otherwise, whatever. Because you're not going to kick a field goal from that far, and you're not going to kick. And you're not gonna obviously score. You're obviously not going to go for it or anything. And Auburn's not going to score from that far back with 18 seconds left. So that pick, I'm not too worried about. Again, it looks bad. He's 11 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on the year. I'm just not that worried about it. The running game, now that we've had time to breathe, time to think. Again, not good, but I was happy to see that they did not go away from it at all. They kept at it. I thought we'd see a little bit more Jamal Roberts than what we've seen in recent weeks. He only carried the ball 3 times, but they certainly kept pushing with the run game. And it being a 1-score game, again, I know, but 40 throws from Bo's a lot too. So, and then like I said, I thought the wide receiving core, that was their best game of the year. It was balanced. It wasn't just the Kevin Coleman or Brett Norfleet show. Josh Manning led the way. Alubade, of course, led the way. Kevin Coleman had some clutch catches. Marquise Johnson had a big couple grabs. Brett Norfleet was kind of held in check. But I thought the receiving core was excellent. Defensively, look, you gave up 111 yards to Jeremiah Cobb. I don't know why they didn't give it to him more. Auburn's got some special playmakers. Cam Cole is an excellent player. Eric Singleton, excellent player. He is feeling a little weird watching Georgia Tech kind of go on the run they're on right now, but he's probably making decent money at Auburn. So fair enough. Not quite sure why Auburn felt the need to press it to Perry Thompson as much as they did. He had 4 catches, but Jackson Arnold really just isn't good. Because Jackson Arnold, again, 18 for 30, 207 yards. A lot of fans are like, oh, you finally threw a pick. That's a good thing. And in some cases it is. But just not in this case. The negatives, again, the offensive line was awful. I thought nobody was good. Tollison, Piegler, none of them were good. That's evidenced by the fact that for Auburn, Robert Woodyard had 4 tackles for a loss. And they had a couple other guys with multiple as well. Xavier Adkins, Keldrick Falk only had 1 tackle for a loss. It felt like he was all over the damn field. He's so good. And he made himself a lot of money Saturday. Jeremiah Trotter, though, 2 tackles for a loss and a sack. Zion Young was on another level. And that, again, that clip of him before overtime and there's just him talking and talking trash to the Auburn players, including Connor Lew. Why was Connor Lew out there? We've now learned he's got a torn ACL. Why was he out there? I don't understand it. And then he backed it up, man. if you're going to do that, back it up, and he did. He had 2 sacks, and I'll talk more about Zion Young in just a minute. I thought, again, best game of Marquise Gracio's career. He only had 2 tackles, but he had to play the game to stop them from going up 2-1. I thought Dre Norwood was really good again. He's quietly might be putting himself into like all SEC conversations, which is a little crazy because he was decent last year, but he wasn't great. And Toriano Pride, I know he got kind of roasted for that one play on 3rd and 10. I think he got beat deep. But I think he had thought Santana Banner was over the top. And also, I'm pretty sure offensive linemen were downfield, so he read run, and it just didn't work out for him, obviously. Mizzou gets the win. Look, if you know me, if you listen to the show, you know I love reading Power Mizzou. I love reading anything that gives me like just a little bit of just additional content or additional, and I can, and look, Gabe does a great job on there. So if anyone watches this and it's like, oh yeah, Gabe gets a lot of credit for me because he'll put out things and I can kind of give my thoughts on it, and that's awesome. Gabe put out a thing today where he said that the Missouri people on the Missouri staff were not surprised about how it went at Auburn, which tells me one of 2 things. One, they know this team isn't amazing. It could be a playoff team. It can, and this is a really good coaching staff, by the way. I give Batoon and I give Moore a lot of crap. I think overall they're pretty good. I think you could upgrade on Batoon, but like it is what it is. I think their position coaches are pretty good, and they self-evaluate really, really well. And it also tells me they knew they were in for a dogfight. Man, look, everybody knew they were in a dogfight. Like they were a 1.5-point favorite. So there were a lot of people that like acted like, oh, Mizzou lost, and yeah, they probably should have. You saw Stats of War put out the success rate chart. They were not as good. Bill Connolly's, I think, post-game win expectancy, they were like 29, 26, something like that percent. But good teams find a way, and teams who make the playoff find a way to win games like that. And it was a huge step towards it. You lose that game, any hope you had was out the door. And now you can gradually take a step forward. It's the SEC. You know, you don't get a breather. Like, congrats on your win over Auburn. Now you got to go to a top 10 Vanderbilt team for a huge one. Again, loser's not out of it, but the winner definitely has an inside track. And we'll get to more about the Vanderbilt here in just a second. But as far as reaching back for the rest of the Auburn game, look, if it went exactly as they thought, okay. They got to win. That's kind of they got to win, and it's exactly what Auburn does. Auburn's a really good roster. They're better at like 17 spots than Vanderbilt. I talked about this Saturday. I'm just not. It's just that Vanderbilt's better at the 2 most important spots on the field, or not even on the field, but like a head coach and at quarterback. So. Good win for the Missouri Tigers. You have to be excited about that. And the person that you should most be excited about is – so coming into the year, I had a feeling Damon Wilson was going to be good. It's hard not to, get excited about Damon Wilson. Everything from the Georgia stuff. Dominic Lovett was really the one that, pushed him to come to Mizzou, which – thanks, Dom. You knew he was going to be good. I thought we would see a lot of Darius Smith in pass rushing situations just because that's just kind of what Darius Smith's really good at. They were really high on him before he was hurt last year, and he got hurt again. I haven't seen anything. But Zion Young, man, I did not know you had this in you. He's been outstanding. He's putting forth an all SEC type year. 9.5 tackles for a loss. I always thought Zion was a really good run defender. Last year, he had 2 sacks, 1.5 sacks, something like that. Hang on. He had 2.5 sacks last year, 5.5 tackles for a loss. he's going to double most of those stats, if not better. He's already doubled the sack total. He's been unfreaking real. And he's been a real culture setter and a real attitude guy. And that stuff's important in college football. I mean, he's getting in the face of the Auburn players, and he's been amazing. 9.5 tackles for a loss, 5 sacks. He's followed by Damon Wilson, 5.5 tackles, 5.5 sacks. And then like Khalil Jacobs has 3, McClellan has a couple, Sterling Webb has a couple, but Josiah Trotter has 1, but he also has 8 tackles for a loss, kind of what you would expect from your leading tackler at linebacker. Zion Young has the goods, man. And I didn't think he had this in him. I thought he was a pretty decent player. Obviously, I thought the Mizzou defensive end room was pretty good. You had Wilson, you had Smith, you had you obviously had Young. We haven't seen a lot from Darius Smith. He's got 1 sack on the year and only 1 tackle for a loss. Hopefully he's healthy. They're going to need him to play better because they're going to need to have some pass rushing situations, especially situations like this week. But I didn't know he had it in him, and it's awesome. Like Mizzou defensive line. For those of you who don't remember, man, Mizzou used to be D-line Zoo, and they were putting guys in the NFL constantly. Shane Ray, Sheldon Richardson, Marcus Golden, Coney Ely, Ziggy Hood was a first-round pick. Alden Smith, Charles Harris. Like they were just consistently putting guys in the NFL. And then it just stopped. They still had some good guys, like Jordan Elliott made the NFL. Obviously, Darius Robinson made it a couple years ago. So it's nice to see that they're finally getting some traction back to that. Yeah, man. And it's going to be a big week. And we'll talk about why it's going to be a big week for Zion and Damon and Darius and the linebackers, especially this week as we break down Vanderbilt. But I didn't know they had this in him. So good on him. Happy for Zion. And I think I'm ready to put Auburn talk to bed as you are listening to Missouri Tigers Live at the Voice of College Football. This is episode 45. I'll be here on Saturday after the Vanderbilt game. And I'm here every Monday, guys, to talk Missouri Tigers football. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Let's get into it, man. Let's talk Vandy. The Vanderbilt Commodores, top 10 in the country. They are a damn good team. Clark Lee, I said this last year. I never thought their talent level would be this because they would get to this point just because, look, it's Vanderbilt, and we all have preconceived notions on what Vanderbilt can do. But between Beck and Lee and Jerry Kills over there, they have an awesome staff. And what they did was a very novel concept. They saw New Mexico State, which is like one of the least refunded programs in the country. And yes, Conference USA is an amazing conference, but they're underfunded for a Conference USA team. And with Pavia and Jerry Kill and Beck and these guys, they went out and just won a crap ton of football games. And they went, what if we took those guys and brought them over here? When you're at a program like Vanderbilt, when you're at a program even like Kansas or some of these other programs that just that don't have the funding, you have to find ways to be creative and find ways to be a tough prep. And that's just to get to a bowl game. Now, they're going to make a bowl game. They might make the playoff. But they did a really great job. And it's an awesome staff. It might be the best coaching staff in the SEC, like top to bottom. They don't have the most talented players. They don't have Alabama's roster. They don't have Georgia's roster. But from a coaching staff perspective, it might be the best coaching staff in the SEC, top to bottom. They've done an unbelievable job. And look, and good on them. And the turnaround from the field comes down to one guy, and that's Diego Pavia. I love Diego Pavia. I know people get a little tired of his crap talking, like, oh, we're going to win a natty at Vanderbilt. Look, man, they're 6-1. Like those blue blood and all that stuff. Like, but they should have full reason to believe they can do this. Diego Pavia of the year, 129 for 183. He's completed 70% of his touchdowns, or 70% of his passes, 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 8.6 yards per attempt, 165 QB rating. And on the ground, he's 77 carries for 438 yards. He's their leading rusher. Also 4 touchdowns. He's not alone on the ground. Cedric Alexander, who did not have a great year last year, is bouncing back. He's got 63 carries, 361 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Mac Young, 27 carries, 296 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He's averaging 11 yards per carry, which is a little scary considering the last couple of weeks Mizzou's been prone to giving up some explosives in the run game. Receiving wise, their pass game revolves mostly around Eli Stowers, 28 carries, 28 catches, 355 yards, 2 touchdowns. Junior Sherrill is no slouch himself. 25 catches, 304 yards, 5 touchdowns. Cole Spence had a nice game against LSU, but he's only got 8 catches, 127 yards on the season. The thing with Vanderbilt is we've seen him now do it in big games. They played Vanderbilt. They played Alabama. They had a decent chance of winning that football game. They had a couple red zone turnovers, and Alabama just took control on the road. They didn't give it to their running backs enough. Cedric Alexander had the one big carry, and that was confusing. So they had a bye week. They regrouped, and they hosted LSU, who was missing some guys on defense. I will grant that. But Blake Baker is a really good defensive coordinator, and they did whatever they wanted off a bye week. 399 yards. Pavia was 14 of 22 for $160 and a touchdown. Cedric Alexander, 13-42. Not a great game, but Young, 6 carries for 85 yards, and Pavia, 17 carries for 86 yards. That offense is basically like what you would do in NCAA, where like you just change the play and you make your own player have stats. Like it all revolves around Diego Pavia. For Mizzou to shut down Diego Pavia, here's what you need to do. And these stats are courtesy of PowerMizzou.com. This is a big game for Damon Wilson. This is a big game for Zion Young. In a clean pocket this year, Diego Pavia is 107 for 133. That's absurd. 1,200, who cares about the yards? 12 touchdowns and interception. That's 80% completion and 10 yards per attempt. When he is under pressure, he's 22 of 50 for 237 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 44%. So he's basically half as effective under pressure as when he's not. But here's the bigger thing. When blitzed, 51 of 78 for 685, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So if you blitz, he knows where to go with the football. He knows his hot reads. He knows his keys. He knows what he has to do because he's been around for it. And there's something to that. He's been around. He knows what he needs to do when it comes to passing the football and where to go with the football. There's something to be said for having that experience. He's a good quarterback. Zion Young, Chris McClellan, Webb, Graciel, Damon Wilson. If Mizzou's going to win in a top 10 matchup on the road, and look, they're only a couple point underdogs. This is what you need to do. This is their game. Defensively, Vanderbilt really stout. They're only giving up 20 points per game. Their run defense is among the tops in the country. They haven't played any spectacular run games. LSU's run game is pretty mediocre. We've gone over Alabama's run game. South Carolina can't run the ball against anybody. And then like Virginia Tech, gross, Georgia State, Utah State, whatever. Their run defense has not been tested. This needs to be another game where Ahmad Hardy gets going. Offensively, I think you need to – against Bama, I put the number at 27. They didn't get to 27. They gave up 27. I think, again, that number is 27. If you get to 27 offensively, and that you could get a special teams touchdown, although under Eric Link, I don't think that's possible, a defensive touchdown. I think you need to get to 27 points to give yourself a real opportunity to win this. You're not winning this football game 23-17 in double overtime. Vanderbilt defensively, Miles Capers has 4.5 sacks. Zaylin Wood has 3 sacks. They're deep among their defense. Like, they have a lot of guys that get a lot of pressures. They have 5 guys with 2 sacks or more. Like Mizzou, they don't force it. They've only got 4 picks. And then they just don't force. They force turnovers, but not like at a crazy rate through 7 games. You cannot turn the ball over, and outside of Bo throwing picks, they've done a decent job of that. They don't fumble. We'll see. I think you need to get to 27 points here against this Vanderbilt defense to give yourself a chance to win this football game. Last year's game saw Vanderbilt play Mizzou really hard. And what's weird is last year Mizzou won this game and then fell spots in the rankings, which is just funny to me. Last year in this game, Diego Pavia was 14-23, threw 2 touchdowns, 178 yards, ran the ball 17 times for 84 yards. Vanderbilt as a whole gained 324 yards. Mizzou outgained him by 442. Brady Cook, 23 of 37 for 226 and 2 touchdowns. And Brett Norfleet, 3 catches for 13 yards. Marquise Johnson, 2 for 19. And those are the only guys on this team that saw any play. It's a different defense. Look, it's a different year, but I will say Nate Noel went 24 for 199 against this team last year. Can they do it again? Can Ahmad Hardy get to 130, get to 140? Can you control the football? If I was a betting man, I would take the under in this game because this is 2 teams that want to control the football. This is not an up-tempo kind of game. This is 2 teams that want to control the football, run the football, and be efficient with the football. Mizzou in the pass game has no ability to be explosive. That needs to change if they want to make the playoff. But they're averaging 41 points per game are the Vanderbilt Commodores. Like I said, they just put up 31 against a really good LSU defense. So that's kind of what you're going to see from Vanderbilt. This is a really good team, and we'll talk about what's at stake, man. There's a narrative coming into this game that is good for Mizzou. You're being overlooked. You're a top 15 team in the country, legitimately a top 15 team. I think, SP Plus has you at 8 or 9. FPI, I think, has you at 17. And some other metrics, have you around there. This is a good football team. Vanderbilt's a good football team. This and College Game Day is going to Nashville. What the world wants, and I don't blame them for this because it's Vanderbilt. It's the same thing if this was like in the Big Ten. If this was, I'm trying to think of like a Northwestern or Purdue or something. Like the entire country doesn't hate Missouri, but they're going to be rooting for Vanderbilt because it's Vanderbilt. This has the feeling of what everybody wants from a fan and a media perspective, and I don't blame them for that. This isn't like a salty grapes thing. I totally get it. Because if they're playing a different team, if they're playing LSU this week and didn't play Mizzou this season, I'd be rooting for them. But this feels like a Vanderbilt coronation. Hey, this program's arrived. This is the biggest home game. Last week was huge, and every game moving forward is only going to get bigger for this team. They get. I don't think the rest of their home schedule is particularly tough. I know they got to go to Tennessee and they got to go to Texas. They get Auburn and Kentucky at home. So this is their last big home game. I know there's some talk that it's going to be like 95% Vandy or 90% Vandy. I doubt it. I think it's going to be closer to like a 65-35 split, which I think works in Mizzou's favor, that you did just play in an 88,000 person stadium. That was insane. By the way, absurd that Auburn fans are still that nuts despite the crap they've watched for 6 years. Like, good on them. Like, that's a great fan base. But this feels like a thing where the media and fans across the country want this to be a Vanderbilt coronation. Like, and it might be. You know, you have a chance to go in there and spoil the party. Stats of War had this game at like 29-25, or, you know, 30-26, something like that. Everyone expects it to be a close game. I am worried about the runaway momentum Vanderbilt has right now, where they could crush you. I think they present a different challenge than Auburn, though. I don't think they're as talented as Auburn, but what is at stake is, A, it's your first road win over a top 10 team. Was Florida top 20 in 2018? Because like all day I've been thinking, it's been Georgia. 2018 Florida football. But I completely forgot about that Florida game until I'm sitting here. I don't think they were top. Let me just pull up their college football reference page. Come on. No, they weren't. They had lost to Georgia the week before. So, okay, that makes sense. But this would be a biggest road game since then. And that game really didn't mean a whole lot because you weren't any good. Like, it made a 7-win season into an 8-win season. Like, cool. Barry Odom squandered everything after that, losing a bowl game to a 6-6. Taylor Cornelius led Oklahoma State. I'm not still bitter. Yeah, this is like the Georgia game in 2013. Now they're not beat up like that Georgia team was, but you have an opportunity to yourself be coronated as, look, you win this football game, you're 7-1, you have 4 games left, and I have said all season you should expect to win Arkansas. They can score some points. You should expect to win that game, and you should expect to beat Mississippi State at home. Mississippi State's better than I thought they were. I'm still not sure Jeff Lebby's safe, just because, and we'll talk about Jeff Lebby in just a moment. Like, can you really survive 2 8-0-8 seasons in the Big 12 or in the SEC? But whatever. You should expect to win both those games. You win here, now you're 9-1. You got to go 1-1 against A&M and Oklahoma. You could lose both those games. You could lose one of the other 2 games, but win this game, you put yourself firmly in the drive. You win this football game, you're going to see a lot of people put out their playoff predictions, and you're going to be there. And I think it's good timing that next week's the bye week if you win this game, because you're going to hear a lot of how great you are, and then you're going to go into a bye. That's good. You know, and for Vandy, same thing. They win this game. They have 2 tough road games, but Texas beatable, and Tennessee's beatable. But they only think I need to win 1. I think 10-2 gets them in. This is a huge football game. This is the biggest game either of these programs have played against each other. This is only, how many times have these 2 teams played each other where they're both relevant? Like 2013, Mizzou had a great year, and Vanderbilt was in the midst of in the James Franklin era. This is like the biggest game these 2 teams have played against each other, which is funny. Like, that place is going to be great. I'm super excited. I'm going to go ahead and give my prediction. My prediction is a Vanderbilt win. I think it's going to be a fun football game, but I would pick Vanderbilt 27-24. Or 30-24. I think Corey Batoon's defense plays ultimately pretty well. I just think Vanderbilt can scheme up a couple touchdowns, and then now I take that back. I take it all back. I still think Vanderbilt wins. I'm going to say 24-20. I don't think either team. I don't think you get enough possessions to get to a 30-point or a 54-point game. I'll say 24-20. It's going to be a fun game. I'm really excited for it. And then next week we have the bye, and then you look. And here's the thing: the loser's not done. It just becomes no room for error, and you got to hope some other things happen. Actually, because they're 6-1, I think we can start to do this segment of who you should root for as a Mizzou fan. But I think Vanderbilt wins this football game, but it's a one-score game at every outlet. Like, in this kind of football game, you can make things, anything can change. A punt return, Vandy muffs a punt. They're so well coached, they don't seem to do things like that. A fumble recovery, just little things that happen in college football can ultimately change how everything plays out. So, yeah, I think Vanderbilt wins this game, but if Mizzou wins it, you'll see me here Saturday just elated because I'm like, this team might actually make the playoff. All righty, you are listening to Missouri Tigers Live here on the Voice of College Football. I think now we're going to take our chances and get away from Mizzou for a minute. We're going to come back to Mizzou. There is something else I want to talk about. But we're going to get into some notes from around the country and the SEC. Bobby Petrino can still dial it up, man. Like, look, guy's kind of a scumbag, allegedly. He can still dial it up. 42 points against that Texas A&M defense is pretty good. Taylor Green's an absolute monster. Thank God this is his last year of eligibility. Arkansas, I think they're going to hire Petrino full-time, which will be interesting. Ole Miss and Georgia. Georgia's defense, like they miss guys like David Wilson. They can't just load themselves up at linebacker and defensive end. And I know they use their defensive linemen a little bit differently. Georgia, Gunnar Stockton can play, man. He can play. He's a dog. Alabama just asserts their dominance over Tennessee at home. And I think I do my own personal top 10. I have Alabama as the number 3 team in the country. They're in a scary spot this week. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. Vanderbilt, we've covered that enough. OU, not pretty, but they get a win in South Carolina. Mizzou, obviously. Texas, please somebody beat them. Mississippi State, please. Just get them out. Get them out of here. 10-2 Texas still makes the playoff. They still got to go to Georgia. They still got to play A&M. So they're not. But please get this clown show off. Tom Fornelli had the tweet, the worst offensive performance not by LSU versus Florida this year. So awful. Kentucky should have won that game. Like Mark Stoops, what are we doing here? And Florida beats Mississippi State in Billy Napier's last game as a member of the as the head coach of the Florida Gators. We're going to talk about that in just a second because there are things I want to talk about when it comes to that kind of stuff. Nationally, around college football, we saw some crazy things. Louisville goes and beats Miami in a game at Miami Corks. Nebraska loses hilariously. Ohio State. This year, a lot of the talk was there's no dominant team, and something can happen in any given Saturday in the playoff, especially when you're dealing with other elite rosters. I think Ohio State's about to cruise to a title, and I'm not happy about it. Arizona State beats Texas Tech. Oregon destroys Rutgers like Oregon. Georgia Tech beats Duke in their last real tough test until Georgia. Notre Dame gets a win. They're going to make the playoff. They have a tricky game at Pitt. Keep an eye on that game. BYU wins the Holy War. They're legit. Good for them. Virginia gets a win. Now we're going to do a segment called Who Should You Root For if you're a Missouri Tigers fan this week? So no G5 game matters. The G5, you're only going to get one. So don't protect about that. Who you should root for in realistic situations. Like I don't realistically think you can expect Syracuse to beat Georgia Tech. You know what I mean? If you are a Mizzou fan, I don't think you have a real loser either way in Ole Miss, Oklahoma. I think you would rather see Oklahoma win. Actually, I take it back. You should root for Oklahoma. Oklahoma still has to play Alabama. They still have to play LSU. They still have to play Missouri. And they still got to go to Tennessee. Those are 4 tough games. I don't think they make that unscathed without 2 losses. Now, the Mizzou thing will take care of itself. Ole Miss has to go to Mississippi State. That'll be tricky. But other than that, they don't play a whole hell of a lot of – they don't have any really tough games. They got South Carolina at home, Citadel, Florida, you know. So I would root for Oklahoma if I am a Missouri Tigers fan. You should root against Virginia at every turn. Same with Georgia Tech. The Georgia Tech thing's cool. Tough Florida, Memphis. Alabama, fine. Obviously, if Mizzou loses, none of this matters. You should be rooting for Iowa State to beat BYU. We need some of these. You need some of these Big 12 teams to start losing. Cincinnati, BYU, you need just some like if the Big 12 becomes a 2-team league, all of a sudden even 10-2 Mizzou looks really. It's very hard for 10-2 Mizzou to get in. Illinois, Washington. You should root for Washington. Get Illinois out of here. Washington still has to play Oregon. Illinois, I don't think really has any tough games left, but Washington still has to go to UCLA, and they still got to play Oregon. Get Washington out of here. Or get Illinois. You should root for Baylor to beat Cincinnati. Same reasoning. Get some of these Big 12 games some losses. Root for Mississippi State to beat Texas. You should be doing that anyway. You should want Miami to lose another game because 2-loss Miami is not a lock. And then Texas A&M, LSU. Root for LSU. See if Blake Baker can do you a solid. LSU still has to go to Bama. They still have to go to Oklahoma. I don't think they get out of that with one more loss. I think their season's just about over as far as playoff hopes. So if they could knock Texas A&M down a notch, then you beat Texas A&M, and then Texas A&M loses like Texas or whatever. That'd be good for you. Root for Michigan State to beat Michigan. I know I said unrealistic, but that's a weird rivalry. Things happen. And then Houston, Arizona State, nothing to worry about. Root for Kentucky to beat Tennessee. That would be funny if Tennessee's in a spot kind of like Mizzou was last week. Now your season for Tennessee is on the brink. If you lose this game, your season's over, and you still have to play Vanderbilt and still got to play Oklahoma. Now, you can play spoiler to those two teams, potentially, but it becomes a lot tougher to have that goal if you can't beat Kentucky on the road. And that's a Kentucky team that's like, just at this point, they're just playing for a notable win. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about, and we'll talk about this for a little bit, is it's no secret Eli's going to be coveted, man. Florida fires Napier. Penn State fires Franklin. Florida State's going to fire Norvell. Okay, little girl. I don't want to spend every week on this. I think I'm talking about it tonight just because there is, like, now that it's official, and now we know Norvell's getting fired. Like, if Norvell, they'd beaten Stanford, there is a real chance Florida State could have finished 9-3. Like, the rest of their schedule sucks. Like, Clemson's bad. A crazy thing with Clemson, man. Like, they lost a home game to SMU, and it wasn't even on like anybody's radar. It was like a national talking point. You got Clemson. They got Florida. They got Wake. You know, they got a bunch of bad Virginia Tech, NC State. Like, they're just a bunch of bad ACC teams. But they lost to Stanford. Now at best they're going 8-4, and I don't think they're going to go 8-4. So Florida State's going to fire Norvell. These are jobs you have to be worried Eli might leave. You just have to be. Look, I love Mizzou. I spend hours a week talking about Mizzou, doing this show, doing post-game shows, watching games, rewatching games, reading. Hours of my life I'm never going to get back dedicated to this silly football program. I love this football program. They can't win a national title. They just can't. They don't have the talent yet. Now, if like a 10, 15-year groundswell, and you could. And you know what? I hope and pray I'm wrong. With NIL, with now rev share and how the sport is going, I hope I'm wrong. I just don't think I will be. Based on the history of college football. Like, I watch Mizzou play, and then I watch Ohio State play, and I'm like, well, Mizzou probably loses by 30 to that team or 20 to that team. But it doesn't mean Mizzou's not a good team. That's why I all offseason I complain about how the emphasis on the national title is ridiculous. Anyway, these are jobs this is a job you have to legitimately have to be concerned Eli leaves for. The good news on one side is I think Florida's going to make an all-out pitch for Kiffin. And I don't think Eli would leave Mizzou for Ole Miss. So that's a positive. I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull out my list of potential coach openings. The Florida State job is interesting. It kind of depends what they want to do. These are positions that can win. You can win national championships out. I wouldn't be shocked if Eli leaves for him. The good news, I think they're really going to keep an eye on Lane Kiffin, and I think that's who they want. So we'll kind of see what happens there. But you just have to be ready for a long couple. Like once that Arkansas game ends, it is probably important Mizzou locks up Eli to a contract here soon. So be it. If it doesn't work out as the SEC goes to 9 games, Mizzou goes back to being like a 7-5 program, so be it. But you can't lose this momentum you have right now. You just can't. You have a lot of momentum. You're in line to win a third straight 10-win season, potentially. Maybe make the playoff. Recruiting's picking back up. He does a hell of a job in the portal. There's another job I'd be worried about coming open. That'd be LSU. If LSU comes open, then I'd be worried about him potentially taking that job. And if Clemson were to come open. Now, I don't think Clemson's going to come open. But LSU puts a lot of money into that program, and especially on this roster. And if they go 8-4, which I think they will, that's a hairy situation. But Mizzou, I don't want to talk about this every week, but now that it's official, like, okay, Napier's fired, Norvell's definitely getting fired. You have to be worried about it. Not worried. Enjoy the season, but it's something you have to think about. I haven't created a hot board or anything of who I'd want Mizzou. Actually, that's not true. I've thought about it, but it's just something you have to think about. So here's my challenge to Mizzou fans. Enjoy it. You have a coach other teams want. Prestigious powerhouse programs want. They wanted Gary Pinkel for a little bit, and then when it was like, oh, he's not leaving because he's a Mizzou guy. And I don't know if Gary would have worked out on a bigger program. You have a guy they want. Enjoy the season. Enjoy this weekend. This is Missouri Tigers Live. My name is Zach Armilius. Not to end things on a dour note, because, guys, this is a big game. And then you go into the bye week. So we'll have some more fun next week, and then I get Halloween weekend off, which is cool from doing post games. Going to go to a Halloween party. But thank you guys all for tuning in. This is a big one. It's super fun. Like and subscribe. But these are, again, the kind of weekends you live for. It's a special moment to think that Vanderbilt and Missouri are the center of the college football universe this weekend. Now, if Vanderbilt had lost LSU, they probably would have gone to LSU A&M, but Vanderbilt didn't lose. They won. And if Mizzou had lost. So enjoy it. It's going to be a fun football game. It's going to be a heck of an atmosphere, a heck of a time. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We'll be here Saturday live after the game for Missouri Tigers football postgame. Thank you so much for all joining in. MIZ, go spoil the party, Eli.